got the lies, motion denied. They say they've got so much evidence, trace DNA is taking precedence over unknown blood found at the scene. I think it's time someone just came clean. Offered up a plea deal, but I didn't do it for real. Turn the world against me, but I just wanna be free. I've got the facts, they've got the lies, motion denied. Been sentenced to death. I'm not a bad guy, not holding my breath. Rather do life than up a plea deal, but I didn't do it for real. Turn the world against me, but I just wanna be free. I've got the facts, they've got the lies, motion the night. In the night, motion the night, motion the night.
The devil's advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood, blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall, one wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
What a cluster that was. Sorry for the delay. I'm assuming you can hear me backstage. Yeah, I got completely. I don't know what just happened. We're having some technical difficulties all the way around. We got Dago had some problems connecting to the show. Logan's got her own problems connecting. I don't think she's going to be here tonight because she has some other things. Her connection issues are more of a different nature. But anyways, and then I had my own connection issues. So thank you for staying with me through that long ass pause. That was super, super difficult. I am still recovering from having a monster video that I put out this morning get yanked by YouTube due to a violation of their community standards. So we'll talk about that on the show. We'll talk about what we can talk about, and I'll explain why we got that video pulled, even though it was going completely gangbusters. We'll talk about that a little bit and explain to you why I got my hand slapped and what we're going to do to fix it, or if not, whatever. And let's just get going. We've got Dago backstage, we've got Robin backstage, we've got 1-1 backstage. We don't have JD tonight. That's kind of normal, I think, for a Monday. We don't have Logan again. I don't think she's going to make it in on time for this show. So this is it. Let's get at her, as they say. Pitter patter, let's get at her. Dago, what's going on?
Whoa. Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Forget about it. Best I can say, with all these connection issues, Jesus, I had to load in twice, and it wasn't me. It was a StreamYard thing, because I came in, and after I did it, I was listening, and there was a hell of an echo in the backstage, and I'm like, what the hell? I was loaded in twice. It was there, but it didn't register for some reason. So whatever.
Yeah, I've got issues too, and I had recently spent a crap ton of money to upgrade my computer with double the RAM, and then found out I got to return the RAM because it's not going to work. So, I'm so frustrated. RAM prices, by the way, are absolutely through the roof because of AI right now, and there's no expectation it's going to come back down. It's ridiculously high priced on RAM. So
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah,
what happened that it didn't work? Is it because it's not compatible, or it just doesn't? It's not going to make a difference.
What's funny is I've been in IT for a long time, and what I didn't know is apparently the controller on motherboards don't like 4 sticks of RAM. They prefer 2 sticks of RAM. And in particular, my DDR5 RAM really doesn't like 4 sticks of RAM. And so I wish they would have told me that before I bought another upgrade kit and said, oh, by the way, this hardly ever worked because computers really don't like 4 sticks of RAM. Like, you could have told me that. And then to look at the price to double my RAM with 2 sticks only, it's as much as buying another computer. That's how bad RAM prices are right now. It's ridiculous.
Are you serious? My God.
Yeah. For 60, get this, for 64, I know we're going long on personal stuff, but for 64 gigs of RAM and 2 sticks, it's $1,000. You can get it for like $800, but it's like $1,000. You can buy computers for $1,000. So it's ridiculous.
That's because of AI. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anyways, did you do a live today?
I did. And it was okay. I covered the Nancy Guthrie situation because I'm just fed up with the entire thing. Nobody has a clue. Savannah said it in her interviews. They have no idea. And I'm like, this has been 60 days we're going on now, and how does nobody know anything? So I went back to the beginning and started over. Kim joined me from Typically. We talked a little bit about it, and my friend Eddie, joined us, breaking some things down. It just doesn't make sense. So that's what we did today.
And yet, in a story that has had nothing happen in 2 months, whatever, we're still talking about it. It's like there's nothing to talk about because there's no body, there's nothing.
I mean,
there's nothing.
And they're claiming that Savannah says they have no idea. They have nothing. And law enforcement is saying they have nothing. I don't understand how there could be nothing. Like,
I feel like that's probably not true. I bet you they know exactly what happened, but it's a typical America doesn't get to know because that's the way we do things now. But
there's that, yes, and I blame Sheriff because he dropped the ball at the very beginning. So
yeah. Well, it's good to have you on the show. I'm glad that you finally got through the technical difficulties. You are linked to us now, right? So your show's
I am, and it's good to be here as always. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get Robin on. And I have to say, Robin, before you get started, I feel as bad for you as I do for me that you put boots on the ground in our fucking video with you out there and boots on the ground doing that. What an amazing job. You did such an amazing job and just completely got shit on by YouTube. So I feel as bad for you as I do for me, even though I'm the one that spent like 4 hours working on that video. But anyways, I feel bad.
Hey,
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Your video was excellent. It's not your fault that YouTube's being an ass. So I mean, But no, don't feel bad on my account. And I say, hey, we don't worry, it'll be okay. It'll be all right.
I
Though.
always I always say if they yank your video, you know you're doing something right.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
That's
and
right.
there's a chance we can recover a little bit. What I don't want to do is I don't want to recover where I think that I'm going to be meeting their expectations and then get flagged again, because I don't want to keep playing that game. Like, it took hours doing in the first place, and I can fix it. And it'll probably take hours for me to fix it, but I don't want to fix it for hours and then have them pull it again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might be more simple if you just pull that one specific portion of it. Just that.
Yeah.
That's half my video. It's half my video. It's not. It's like half my video is showing public records, and it's the public records they had a problem with. We'll talk about that more in detail when we get on here. But half the video is showing receipts. I can't show receipts. YouTube will not let me show the receipts. So that's the problem. Like, my whole video is about yeah. So the whole video is about here's the proof, and they're like, you can't show the proof. So
I get it. I get it.
Anyway, so Robin, you got anything else you want to share before we bring one on and get this thing kicked off?
No, just status quo, same old, you know. So, but
I know you were excited about that video. We were all excited as a team. We were like, "Oh my God, that video is doing so good!"
That's okay. It'll all be good. It'll all be good. Don't worry. So, but welcome in, everyone. Make sure you're liking that video. Please help us out here, and sub to the channel. Get ready, because we're gonna see if we can get that fixed, and you won't miss it. So, but for everyone who did tune into that video today, thank you very much. And you know, it really was going gangbusters. But
and we were getting a lot of positive feedback. We were getting a lot of positive feedback. So it was exciting, but it died. One, what's up, man?
Hello.
How are you?
What's up, guys?
Well,
hello.
Not too much.
Not much.
It's been an emotional roller coaster day.
Yes. It's unfortunate because I wanted the video to be longer.
Here we go. Here you go, Lee.
There it is. There it is.
Oh shit! Oh snap! Like,
yeah. That's it.
All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
now
it.
You can now you can retire. You can get your pina colada.
Yep. There you go.
You've made it.
Now I feel the pressure. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta perform now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's kind of a long-standing joke about everybody's like, oh, sorry, your birdie's on, gotta go. So I appreciate you taking the time to share with us. That's awesome. What's this one? Robin, if you ever do boots on the ground here in Williamsport again, please be very careful and try to be with someone who is from here. You visiting people's houses were in this town will. So I don't think her videoing anything actually that's not what got us in trouble. It was me showing public records. And it's funny because
she's worried about my safety, but
I did, and I mentioned on the video that you had some bravery to do that, because some people might get upset about it. But hey, let's save the longer discussion on that video, because I do want to talk about the video and I want to talk about it as a panel. Let's get one's monologue out of the way here, and let's get us kicked off in proper fashion.
All right. It's good to be alive in the den. What day is it? Monday? Monday night. I lose track of the days.
I did too.
Juliana, Jackson, and my lovely, beautiful wife. Love you guys always. All right, here we go. Some cases don't just haunt you, they linger. They breathe in the background. They sit in the dark. They wait for somebody patient enough, quiet enough, obsessive enough to stop looking at the headline and start looking at the details. Because sometimes the truth doesn't scream. Sometimes it whispers. Tonight, we step back into the shadows of the Idaho 4 case, but not through the front door. Not through the version the public was handed. No. Tonight, we go through the details. A lease, an address in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. A brother, a mother, a signature. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because this case has always been full of noise. But what if the truth was never loud? A military past, a timeline that overlaps, places that connect. Another man, another path, another set of questions. And somewhere between Pennsylvania and Pullman, a darker possibility begins to form. Not a conclusion, a possibility. Because in cases like this, it's the pattern that matters. The overlap, the repetition, the connections that refuse to disappear. A Pennsylvania link, a proximity in Pullman, a military thread, and questions. Because once you start tracing the lines, you begin to understand something. This case may not just be about one night, it may be about everything that came before it. And that's the thing about evil. It doesn't always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it arrives quietly in documents, in records, in names, in details. So tonight, we're not here to give answers. We're here to ask questions. This is Devil's Advocates. And in this case, the devil is in the details. And with that, live from New York, it's Monday night.
All right. I had muted Robin just for a second because I was getting personal conversations bleeding through there. So I got her muted, but I'll unmute you now. So make sure you're safe on that side. So just wanted to make sure. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think you're supposed to be talking right now. So thank you so much. No worries. I try to protect people when they do that and make sure you don't make any embarrassing mistakes. So welcome to the show tonight. Let's talk. Let me lead off a little bit, if you guys don't mind, as a panel, what happened this morning on the YouTube video. So for the longest time, for a year, I get kicked in the teeth from time to time saying, Brent KOPACKA didn't come from the East Coast. He's not from the East Coast. You're an idiot. He's not from Pennsylvania. Your theory that you've posited that Othram Labs could have developed the DNA to KOPACKA and his brothers, the four brothers. That's what they said. We developed the four brothers out of Pennsylvania. I said, I suspect that's KOPACKA. You're an idiot. They never were on the East Coast. I proved essentially that it was that they were from the East Coast. I proved it by showing proof. Like I didn't want to have you to distrust me. I'm like, I'm going to show it to you. And I did so through public records request, showing you the actual physical addresses that Brent KOPACKA, his mother and his brother lived at in common all across the United States, showing how they moved together as a group and how they lived together in Pennsylvania, just like I said that they did. And I showed you lease paperwork. YouTube pulled that for showing people's personal addresses on TV, even though I had on YouTube, which is a violation of their terms of service. Now, I did some research before I did this, and it was not illegal to do what I did, but there's a difference between being legal and violating someone's terms of service. So it was not illegal what I did. It's public record information. Anybody can get it. It's out there in the public thing. And I even took the step of redacting their current address so you wouldn't know where they are right now, and their phone numbers so you wouldn't be able to call them and bug them, and their personal emails so that you couldn't email them and bug them. And I only left the addresses and phone numbers and stuff like that for Brent KOPACKA, who's deceased, and anyone who wouldn't be impacted by that. However, I still got slapped down in a video that was going monster. Everybody was loving it. Got great feedback from people saying, "Holy crap, you're putting all this stuff together." And then YouTube said, "Nope, you're not showing that on our channel, on our platform. That's a violation of services for showing people's addresses." So I just wanted to talk to you guys about the difficulty that it was. How do we, as a true crime community, counter our critics who say you're full of shit, you can't prove that, and then when you go to prove it to them, YouTube says you're not allowed to prove that to them, take that shit down immediately? Like, how do you do that?
Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the trust me, bro thing. That's
the problem right there, because and that's the thing is I've been here a little bit longer than you, and I faced that. People on YouTube are very critical for good reason for the most part. Okay. As we are too, we want to know things, and we want to know the proof behind those things to be able to solidify it in our minds and with what we're doing. And then you have that hurdle, okay, that speed bump, which it is. Their rules. Their rules are in place for good reason to some aspects. Yes. Obviously we don't want to dox people. We don't want to do stuff like that, and we definitely don't do that ever on purpose. But at the same time, we have to be able to prove certain things at certain times, and unfortunately, in some senses, that falls in that that bucket. You know what I mean? And it makes it very hard for
Yeah.
for you to do your job. And then you have like Robin and Miss Essie going on a traveling, okay, spending their time and their effort traveling. And I'm not saying they put themselves in danger, but just getting in your car and
No.
driving down the road is dangerous. So you just never know.
Well, they did.
Right,
They
right,
did.
You
right.
know, and then they went out and did
You
that,
never
and
know.
then
Right.
Yeah.
Lee takes the time that he does to put it together in a very, very well done way, and then poof, all of that for nothing. It seems it's very disheartening. But people out here, I'll say this, Lee, the people
Yeah.
that come in here that support you, myself included, as another creator, know the work that you have put into it, that Robin has put into it, and Essie, and that all of us are doing in the in the background to try to make these things happen, and definitely do appreciate what you do. I know that's not enough sometimes. It seems like because of everything done, it doesn't make the point. But thank you to you all for what you've done with it, because
Yeah.
it does help us in the long run to know more about what we need to know. So there's that point.
I also
Sorry, I
feel
was
like there's
long-winded.
No, I also think there's a double standard because now they didn't bust me for this, but I've seen other people try to explain, oh, the reason you got busted is because you were trying to imply this. And I'm like, funny, because the media can try and imply that a white car going by 1122 means it's Brian Koberger. They can imply that shit all day long, or that a cell phone pinging off the tower that services the house means that he must be the killer. But if I simply point out that two people are in the same city at the same time, and that's a weird coincidence, I'm somehow an asshole for jumping to conclusions. Like, why is there this double standard that's okay for you to make wild ass speculative guesses, but I come up with something that with receipts and go, look, I'm not even, and I'm even saying, I'm not even saying this means anything. I just find it interesting, don't you? And some people are like, that's where you got yourself in trouble. I'm like, really? Really? Is that
Well,
where I got
and
myself in trouble?
I wanted to add too, YouTube has been really, 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 most recently, a lot more picky,
Yeah.
a lot like Lana, for
They
instance.
have.
I just saw in chat,
Yeah.
Lana got suspended for a week, dude.
Yeah.
A week, 7 days for something that I know she didn't do. I know she didn't do it. Okay. But there have been people being flagged and hit. I've been warned many a times for things that don't normally don't. Okay, so they're being extra picky for some reason and extra particular about certain things. So it's
I'm
really,
actually
it may not even be your fault. I'll just say
I'm actually terrified that I'm going to get suspended because, and it should never be this the case, right? But they specifically said, this is not a strike against your account. But it's just not what you can't air that, right? And I'm like, okay. And there was a button to appeal it. And I thought I was going to get a chance to explain, but hitting the button says, okay, it's under review. We'll let you know. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't even get a chance. And now that it's going to go into review, is somebody going to look at it and go, oh, that's what you did? Well, fuck it. You're banned. Like,
no.
am I going to make it worse?
No, that's not going to happen.
They don't work that. They're bad, but they're not that bad. They will come back and give you an explanation as to what it was that you did wrong and give you the option to remove it before they suspend you. So,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
Stefan, it's already been removed. So,
yeah, it's already been removed. Stefan Wolt, the two people in the same place at the same time. I was pointing out several things. I was pointing out where Brent KOPACKA was when Brian Koberger was going to school, when he was going to high school, where he was when Amanda Koberger was in college, when she was filming the movie 2 days back, where he was in relation to all those people. I was showing that. I was also showing Brent KOPACKA at certain addresses in Colorado, Texas, Washington State, Idaho, at the same time as Zach and his mother, showing that they kind of stick together as a group. And then the big one, and I didn't get in trouble for this, so let's be clear. The big one that I was really starting to try to, how do I explain this? Okay, I'm going to summarize it like this, because you're not going to get to see the video unless I recut the video or do something to it. So many people have questioned me about the coincidence that Brett Payne was in the 82nd Airborne in the same battalion and the same 4th CBT team that didn't exist until 2006 that Brent KOPACKA was in. And I thought that was a weird coincidence. Several people have busted my nuts saying, you're an idiot. Payne was in Afghanistan in 2012 and KOPACKA left in 2009. They didn't serve together, you moron. What I pointed out was Brett Payne entered Fort Bragg in 2008, and Brent KOPACKA suffered an injury in combat and came back to Fort Bragg before he exited in 2009. Therefore, essentially putting them in the same combat team in the same place, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, at the same time.
Yeah,
right.
And again, I'm not saying that means they knew each other, but what I'm saying is it puts them in this. It could potentially put them in the same place at the same time. So, anyways,
it opens a door that definitely is something we can see.
Right, but also keep in mind that wasn't Brent Payne's brother in the same exact unit?
Yes.
So even though maybe KOPACKA didn't know
Brett,
Payne real well, but maybe he
could have
knew
known
Brent's
Kyle.
brother.
Kyle.
And again,
I mean,
even that, I wasn't saying that's what the case was. I was just saying that one could see a potential that it could have happened. For those who say it's impossible, it's not impossible. Right there is how the dates could have overlapped. Right there,
and too many coincidences.
Not even that. Right. That even beyond that, like it's been screamed about that people are saying Brent KOPACKA never lived in Pennsylvania. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Yes,
I can say that. I can say that with confidence. Yes, he did.
So can I, because I've seen the proof. We've seen the proof, you guys. And people can say, and this is why it's upsetting to Lee. And I get it because I've been through it. Okay, it's upsetting to me, and I didn't even put the video out. We saw the proof. We can tell you that till we turn purple, but you don't. I'm gonna go
ahead and take a risk. I'm gonna put something on screen. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go ahead and take a risk. Give me a second here. I'm gonna show the document redacted. So that we can talk about it, because I believe we can talk about the redacted video. So let me show you, because again, for those who didn't get to see the video, you didn't get to see the video. So I'll show you what we got, because I've been holding off on this.
That's what Amanda just said, just redact it. So
yeah.
I mean,
now again, I don't know that they're going to be happy. This when I put this on, this fucking better be enough redaction. It better not. I'm just telling you, it better be enough redaction. All right.
Just don't leave it up. Don't leave it up real long. This is for education.
Like I'm making an empty threat. Like, what am I going to do about it? Like, you better be whatever.
I mean, and it is truly for educational purposes, folks. So
yeah. So what I was showing was this. So let me tell you the story for those who don't know. An individual came forward to me when I was giving the whole rant about people say that I can't prove that Brent KOPACKA was in Pennsylvania. And someone said, I can. And so they reached out to me and said, let me tell you a story. Now, the story of this individual, I'm going to tell right now. The story of this individual was my husband, before I married him, was friends with Brent KOPACKA in Pennsylvania and lived near him. Like they were neighbors. And I said, can you prove it? And she goes, yeah, I think I can prove it. Like I can prove that I think we might still have the lease agreement, which I didn't understand at the time how she could have the lease agreement. This on screen is the lease agreement. Let me tell you a little bit more of the story. It turns out this is the story. And she told me I was allowed to say the story. So here's the crazy story. Before she married her husband, he was friends with Brent KOPACKA in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where I already knew his mother. I already knew his mother lived in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So when she said, oh yeah, we lived by Brent KOPACKA, or he lived by Brent KOPACKA in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. She told me a story about how her and her now husband used to go to strip clubs with Brent KOPACKA, and they hung out and they drank and they went to strip clubs and stuff like that after he got out of the military. This man who was friends with Brent KOPACKA was married and had recently had a baby and came home one day and found Brent in bed with his wife. That was the story. That ended that friendship. But she said, but we have the receipts. Like I actually have the lease agreement. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how do you have the lease agreement? Why? Because her father-in-law is the one who was the manager of the place where they had, and he still has the lease agreement with Brent and Zach KOPACKA's signatures on it. And I said, if you can show that to me, I'm going to piss myself on camera. So basically, she gave me this document. Right, I had to change my underwear, and after I did that, I've got on screen this, and I'm going to show you what I can show you. This right here is the lease agreement. And by the way, this is what Robin and Essie did. Robin and Essie, that were near Williamsport, they drove over there. They went to the assessor's office and went to the courthouse. They verified that this guy was the landlord who signed this piece of paper, and that this stuff is legitimate. Enough proof that there's not any question in our mind it's legit. Nope. So this was the document. She even went as far as to verify that the rent values was about appropriate for that time when it was being rented, to prove that everything passes the sniff test. I'm going to show you even a more amazing amazing thing. So here's BK and Zeke. That's Zach and Brent KOPACKA's initials on page 1 of the thing. Here it is. Case of Karen property or use of property, Zachary KOPACKA and Brent KOPACKA. Now, I want to show you something really, really interesting that I talked about very briefly on the video because I didn't think about it until after the video was cut, and I kind of put it in as a note. Notice how the name KOPACKA is spelled with an A on the end of it. KOPACKA with an A. Those of you who have followed this story long enough know that Brent KOPACKA, when he was being interrogated or questioned from police in June, when he was having supposedly an episode saying that people were trying to light his apartment on fire and all this like that, and they asked him what his name was, he said Kopak, and he spelled it without an A on the end of it. This is a peculiarity because his name is KOPACKA. That's his legal name. But Brent himself says Kopak. So here's what's super interesting. This person didn't know all those details when they gave me this. He signs his name and Zach signs his name without the A on the end. It's Kopak with no A on the end. That's how they spell their name. That's another one of those little sniff tests that says this is legit. KOPACKA he spells his name without the A, but his legal name has the A on the end. This is a signature supposedly, and I believe it's true, of Zach KOPACKA and Brent KOPACKA in August of 2009. Brent KOPACKA had just gotten out of the military. He had separated at Fort Bragg about halfway through the month in June. Zach had originally signed this lease by himself because Brent wasn't there to sign the lease. But then they went back and re-signed the lease on 8/1 because he wasn't there for the original signing of the lease. And the document even says that this goes retroactive to the start of the lease, which is in June. So there it is. The part is from June 1st, when Brent was getting out of the military, out of Fort Bragg, being severed from the Army, till June 1st, 2010. And I've redacted the actual house number this time. So YouTube, please leave me alone. I hope you'll be okay with this. I left the street because I wanted to at least say, look, I'm telling you, you're just going to have to trust me, bro. I had his address, and they looked up on public records, and his mom lived at that same address. So as I told you, when he got out of the military, he would have probably gone back and lived with his mother. That ended up happening. Now, it didn't quite happen on paper the way it looks, because I think his mother joined them living there at that house after the brothers had signed the paperwork. But it was everything that I said, and it all came through. And again, Robin went and got the receipts on it, and it is a very, very compelling case that I laid out in the video, and it was going gangbusters until they pulled it off YouTube and said, you can't show people's addresses on the internet.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But no, I can vouch.
Yeah. There it is.
We were there. We went to the place. It exists. The landlord, everything that we checked into with, the courthouse, the assessment office, everything checked out. So, I mean, we literally went to these legal entities, and everything checks out. I researched, properties, deeds. I traced these places back to the people who originally owned them and traced forward and found out a very interesting stuff about the whole thing. And it's the real deal, because there's no way that I was going to put forth anything to Lee that wasn't on the up and up, wasn't true, because as everybody knows, this channel is about receipts. And there was no way I was going to take a chance of damaging his reputation by bringing him half-truths and speculation and so forth. Especially about something so serious. And I think that's what the problem is. Somebody doesn't like us getting closer to the actual damn truth.
Yeah, and I want to talk about drip drop in a minute, but I want to tell you another one of those sniff tests. So Robin, like she said, when Robin was on the case trying to verify this, there was a moment, and I won't go into all the details, but there was a moment when Robin was like, wait a minute, the person on the lease who signs as the landlord isn't the person who owns the property. So it caused a moment of like, let's make sure we got the right paperwork. So after some research, she found out one person owned the properties, but let somebody else manage it. So I went back to the person who gave me the lease and said, hey, by the way, I'm just curious, did your father-in-law own the property or just manage it? She goes, oh, he just managed it. Everything checks out. Like, she literally says everything that we knew was true, that it was owned by somebody else and he managed it. She knew that as look, if you're going to fake this kind of shit, you're probably not going to go to that level of understanding all those little deals. We're certain of the authenticity.
And now what I've been trying to do since this was brought to my attention is I've been trying to figure out exactly where in the hell Brian Koberger was in 2009 in Pennsylvania, because if one person lines up with one, if we can line them up in the same area, it would be an interesting connection. Is all I'm saying. That's what I've been doing for 2 days now.
Supposedly, Brian Koberger was still in high school. He was 16, turning 17 in 2009, and was in high school. Drip Drop, I want to tell you, by the way, in my video that got pulled that you may or may not be able to see if I decide to edit it or not. We'll see if we're going to put it back out again. If I can salvage the video, I will. But I covered Drip Drop's discussion about this. The difference is Drip Drop's house that he shows is not the house that we are talking about. Drip Drop shows a completely different house and puts Koberger and KOPACKA in the same city. Which would be amazing, but I can't. And I even said, I'm going to show you what Drip Drop said, but I cannot vouch for what Drip Drop's saying. So I showed it, and look, that's not the problem either, because Drip Drop didn't give the address. He just showed, I think he just showed the house, but he didn't show an address.
So
it's not the same house.
One of the most, and one of the most interesting things to me is in 2009, Brian would have been 15 or 16, if I'm correct. Okay.
Yeah, I think 16.
That's at the height of his drug issue.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So in turn, and after the stories that Mikey told about him, his friend Mikey, and so on and so forth, I would like to understand, is there a crossover at some point that they may have known each other, which we talked about before, because of the drugs. Brent just got out of the military. Brent went through a traumatic experience and could have been doing drugs of sorts. Who knows? We don't know, but you know, there's many things that there could have been a crossover with, is all I'm saying.
So let me tell a narrative that could be the case. Understanding, I want to make sure you understand. I'm not saying it is the case. I'm just giving a narrative that could make sense. So Brian Koberger, when he was in high school, in his high school yearbook, this was reported in mainstream media. In his high school yearbook, they plastered it all over the internet to make him look guilty. They showed a picture of Brian Koberger as a young teen doing push-ups in a military uniform and said, young Brian Koberger is taking this class for, like, you know, up and coming futures, soldiers, because he wants to be an Army Ranger someday. Brian KOPACKA was not a Ranger, but he was an Army Special Forces type, but it's not the right word, not Special Forces, elite forces. He was an elite force, a paratrooper. So one could ask, if they did run into each other, was Brent KOPACKA perhaps an inspiration? Yeah, where are we getting the echo from? We're getting an echo.
There's an echo, a bad echo.
Yeah.
Is it from myself? Maybe it's from myself. I don't know.
I don't know.
So anyway, so that's one potential thing. The other potential, so that, I just asked, like, and again, you ask yourself that question. So you've got you got a soldier with PTSD, and again, it's a question. A lot of soldiers who are suffering PTSD self-medicate. They self-medicate with alcohol or drugs to deal with the shit that they had to deal with. So did Brent KOPACKA come back a slight mess, drinking, and maybe even doing some drugs? And did he end up doing drugs with another person that he knew indirectly? And again, this is where, and I won't go into the details heavy, but Amanda Koberger at the same time was involved in basically the horror industry, because she ended up starring in a movie in 2011 called 2 Days Back, in a horror film. Even the by the way, just a quick aside, even the director of the film, because that film was set in a small, little, tiny college town like Moscow, Idaho, about kids that get killed by knife kind of thing. And the director said, no fucking way. Amanda Koberger, who starred in our movie, her brother did the same thing in a small town, college town across the country. No fucking way. What are the odds of that shit? So things that make you go,
There's a couple things that really, truly, honestly, absolutely could be connection. And I'm not saying that I think this is it. Here we are. Boom. That's it. No, folks. But I'll be damned if I'm going to look past this without looking at it twice, because everything the time we've spent on this, okay, alone, three solid years and then some, okay? I'm not walking by anything that could be anything, is all I'm telling you.
And Wade Bird has the exact thing that I was thinking. So if a high school kid, people who don't understand, like, again, I'm not a big military person, but here's what I understand it. If you go into the ROTC program, what it basically is you continue your education you basically can enter the military as an officer already if you basically do some education ahead of time kind of thing. So sometimes they'll recruit kids, high school, college, or whatever, into the ROTC program, and they basically will go in as an officer, right? And so did Brian Koberger happen to have an ROTC? Did he have a vet come in, a decorated vet with a Purple Heart, like a Brent KOPACKA, who could have shown up somewhere and been part of a recruiting thing, and he got so impressed by an Army, well, again, an Army vet. That was true. I was going to say Ranger. He's not a Ranger, but an Army vet. It's speculation, yes, but these are the threads that, as Dago would do his little thread pulling thing, these are the threads you pull. Like, what if you find out that Brett did some kind of stint of recruiting or helping out with recruitment? So you have to wonder. But
and they could have had one conversation is all it takes to create a friendship based on many things that could happen is all I'll say.
And let's not forget, in Williamsport and Wilkes-Barre, which is not all that far away, there are the VA hospitals. Okay. So Brent could very well have been undergoing some treatment. Now, I do not know whether she did or not, but Amanda Koberger, she is a social worker. She has worked in the healthcare industry. Is it possible that she met Brent somehow? She's only 2 years younger than Brent. So I'm not saying that they had a relationship of any kind. I'm just saying that the possibility is there for a connection that way. So in this area, you have two VAs that are not very far from each other or Williamsport. So
yeah. And somebody's giving you guys kudos for the John Bonet on Sunday night. So I just wanted to make sure you guys recognize that before it goes off screen.
Thank you very much. That was a great show. That was great.
Yes.
Yeah, and like somebody said it correct, kind of, I don't know if they were correcting me or just kind of clarifying that you don't go into the military as an officer in high school ROTC. So I don't know the difference between, I just know that the ROTC program, when you're in college, it's that kind of thing, going into the military as an officer kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know about the high school part, but I do know that they recruit in high schools. So I've seen that before. So
yes. They tried to recruit me into the Army band because I was a good enough baritone and trombone player. And they came and I kind of did an audition for them and whatnot. And they were like, yeah, when you graduate, we want you to come join our band.
Yeah.
So, so they do.
And you could start in high school by saying, hey, when you graduate high school, do you have any plans to go to college? How about we give you a deal? You go to college, we'll help you with your college, and you can enter the military as an officer. Like, that's when you start recruiting, is in the high school for the ROTC.
They did it to my son. They did it to my son, 100%. He was recruited into the Army the same damn way. And that, understand something too, guys. In 2009, that would have put Brent, I believe, at like 20 years old, roughly. Right around that point, I think. Doing quick math, which I suck at in my head, but yeah, in 2009, I think it'd have been 20 because he was 32, if I'm correct, and 22. So am I right? Does that sound right? 20 years old, which is fairly young.
Yeah.
Still, he's not. Just saying. And there was that comment that you threw up on the screen a little bit ago that the same person that gave you the information about that stated that there was some drugs involved in what Brent was doing at that time. So I'm just saying.
By the way, I do see some people who are saying they wished they could have seen my video. There's a possibility that we can host that the video as it was originally shot as a link that we can provide on my Discord channel for people who want to see the video in its original form. And we might re-edit, depending on how long it takes us to re-edit the video, so that we can take out all addresses and repost it on YouTube tomorrow. So you can maybe see it on YouTube tomorrow with all the addresses redacted, or maybe I can provide a link on our Discord channel to the original video. As long as it's not on YouTube making money or pissing people off, then they probably, but I probably can't post that link here on YouTube because that would still be the same problem.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying Discord. I could go to Discord, I can give you the link on Discord, and maybe you can watch
this is interesting comment on the screen.
Brent also was into drugs. I know this via my husband. He sold them at the time, and Brent was a buyer. Yes. Yeah. There was rumors about that for the long.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I see a bunch of people in the chat. I saw some random different comments. We do see your comments.
Yep.
There's a lot of talk about Mowich, so I will mention Mowich here. We're not ignoring Mowich, but Lee he goes down more of the thread of KOPACKA. I saw a comment earlier where someone said, well, if there was some way to show a connection from Mowich to KOPACKA or yeah, that would be amazing if you could find some kind of connection. Absolutely. There's a bunch of connections there. I still, I think Dago is kind of, I think he'll answer himself, but I think he kind of believes somewhat similar to me as well, that Molly is somehow involved in something as well with this. So could Molly be does Molly have a connection somehow to KOPACKA or to Molly was involved with drugs, we know that, so you got to think of kind of like the bigger picture sometimes, just Molly just happened to be there delivering like the DoorDash at whatever 3:59 or 3:58. Molly has a role in this event that happened. What was her role? I don't know, but she has something.
I think Molly, and if we say Malwich, okay, Jesus, what's her name? I always forget. Janelle Braun. Okay. There's a maybe even Brent KOPACKA. There's a possibility that this group of people knew each other, that could have been together, including Molly, of course. And like I said, I'm not saying that's the answer, you guys. I'm saying
right.
Well,
I can't discount it, because one of the things I said, and I wondered, I should say, was when we hear Rosenthal say that he was, he saw a group of 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 people walking towards the 1122 house that night. He didn't pay a lot of attention because he was looking for open containers, so on and so forth.
Right.
My theory was, and this is just a pure theory, absolutely alleged. What if Molly's reason for being there was dropping people off at that house? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what my theory was on that aspect, and I'm not going to let go of that until it's absolutely no way of proving it. So.
Yeah, and I want to
right there. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to clarify something about Malwich or whatever is. So I'm starting to look into it a little bit more. But the reason why I had there's two reasons why I avoided Malwich. One, after 3 years of this case being open, out of the blue, Pavarotti mentions one day Malwich, and everybody and their dog came to me. Pavarotti just solved it. It's Malwich. And I listened to the argument, and I'm like, there's major holes in that argument. And I immediately was like, I'm not going to start a whole new fucking investigation 3 years into something of a name we've never heard for 3 years into the last minute because Pav mentioned it. Now, no disrespect from Pav, but at the time I had like a mental blinder. I'm like, I'm not jumping on a brand new name we've never heard for 3 years. And there's holes in the logic. Now, having said that, looking at as Amanda from our show, who does a lot of the diving into the documents, she has been pressing on me to get the autopsy report or go after autopsy report and various things for Malwich. And when I was asking her for the details, she's bringing up that they obviously found enough interest in that guy that they were looking for buccal swabs and things like that. So it obviously was taken more seriously than I took it originally. So we are looking into it, but that's the reason why I didn't originally. It was a name that came out of left field after 3 years. I've never heard the guy's name for 3 years. And now all of a sudden, like, oh, it's this guy. And I'm like, come on, like, really?
Yeah.
But, and so I just kind of had a little bit of a mental blinder, but I'm starting to look a little bit deeper. And, one more thing. I know you got to get ready to talk, Dago. I'm sorry. One more reason why I have avoided it. As Dago talks about pulling threads, the thread that I have been pulling and working on has been KOPACKA, and Pav's already on the Malwich thing. So I don't, there's no dick swinging contest here. If it turns out to be Mowich is involved in it, fantastic. Pov's all over it already, and he's way ahead of me. I don't need to jump in late to the game and try to beat Pov at his own thread. I've been pulling this thread that I'm working on for a long time, and it's not a competition to see who solves it. I don't give a shit who solves anything. I would just like to get to the bottom of the truth. So I've been kind of leaving it alone. He's way ahead on that one. So hey, if he proves it and puts it together, great. So
my big thing is that damn white Elantra that crashed. It just something tells me that's because it seems like there were multiple white Elantras.
Too ironic.
It's not one white Elantra. There's multiple like white Elantras that are involved in this thing. I feel.
Well, and it's way too coincidental that happened with that car at that time.
Yes,
I'll say that. You can't look past that either.
And and the owner of that car.
Well, two of the owners of that car actually.
Yeah.
Because there's two names. One of the names on that come back on the lease of that car was Jesse James Bailey's wife, but there was also it was one of the owners of the 1122 house, from my understanding, was on that lease as well at some point, or on the title of that car at one point too.
Weird.
How do you look past something like that? Is all I'm saying.
I know.
It's too convenient to me. I'm sorry. So
I know
I'm gonna look at it until I can't look at it.
Oh, and of course it had fog lights. I can't let that go.
Thank you so much for that, Leah. Says keep up the good work. Love your shows and look forward to everything. Thank you so much, hon. We appreciate that, and you so very much for that. Number one on our goal for tonight, and God bless. Very much appreciated, dear.
And somebody asked about the hospital surveillance. Here's the problem we have with some of this stuff. We could go after it, but I almost certainly that hospital surveillance is long gone if it exists. People overwrite those tapes, and unless somebody came in and actually asked for it to be held and retained, it's long gone.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we could ask for it, but it's probably almost next to not impossible. Unless it was part of the official investigation, it's long gone.
And that's another thing, guys. Don't get it wrong. Like the questions that fall with what happened in the emergency room with Mowich, all that. Again, it's all in my notes. Nothing I'm looking by or looking past. Yeah, and like Lee's right. That's why I haven't really talked about it either. Paul is doing an amazing job with what he's covered on that, putting it out there. I'm not going to jump in behind him to try to do any more with it. We already know that information, and if it does link at some point, and this link, hey, that's amazing. That just says everybody's out here doing their part on it, and I agree with that.
Right.
So,
and I have to wonder, in the first part, I'm thinking off the top of my head, if you're talking about surveillance camera from an emergency room, waiting room, even, I think that would fall under HIPAA. Would you even be allowed to get anything from somebody in an emergency room?
Not necessarily, because it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't give private information about what's going on with this person. I don't think, but knowing how this has gone, it's likely they may, due to the privacy issues per se. But again, I
don't think
I think that'll be an excuse they use if anything. That's true, but beyond that, I don't know.
I would imagine anything being recorded inside of a hospital, inside their front door, because they would block due to HIPAA violations. Say, hey, look, this is people's personal medical information. You can't talk about that. And even if they showed video, anybody talking in there asking a question about if they have taken any medications or whatever, that would all have to be redacted. Like I would figure it'd just be a policy that you can't see that.
I've wondered, I've talked about that before, and actually wondered about that. If we're watching somebody coming into the hospital, that has nothing. We don't know why they're there. They could be there to visit somebody. It doesn't give it. They're there to pick up a prescription. It doesn't tell us that they're there because they're having a heart attack or a broken leg or an allergic reaction. It just shows them. That's all we need to see. We don't need to know why they were there. So if you go around it that way, that would be fine. But knowing the way this has gone, I think it's probably going to be a hurdle. So
it's hard for me not to segue off what you said to a completely different case. There was a discussion about why in the Delphi case, Richard Allen, why certain video was allowed to be seen, but they weren't allowed to see the audio, and it had to do with that kind of thing. Like we could see, you're allowed to see what happened, but you're not allowed to hear what happened. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
It's a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah,
very good point. It's all It's a lot. And it's all of these little things, like I've been saying, that you never know, folks. One of these little details could open up a door to some massive amount of information. Is all. That's why we can't just look over these things. Otherwise, we just may miss it all.
So I want to address this question. We can talk about it as a panel if you'd like.
Yeah.
The unknown DNA, they've got to know who it is, and I'll tell you no, but I'll tell you why. So it's not a bad question. I'm not trying to shame you for the question. And I'm going to give you my cynical answer. You don't go looking down rabbit holes you don't want the answer to. So they already had their suspect. They already had their idea what happened. So when Brian Kohberger's name's on the radar, if they don't think that blood's going to tie to Brian Kohberger, they'll do one thing. They'll test it to see if it's Brian Kohberger, and if it's not, they're done. They're not going to want to go looking to see who it belongs to, because that will cause reasonable doubt that they got the right guy. So this is where it's a sticky thing. They don't go looking super hard for alternate suspects for you. If they've got their man, they're not going to go look for alternate suspects. So that's part of the answer why they probably didn't even look. They didn't even care, because they had their guy at that point.
And we know the statistic about how much evidence from the actual crime scene that they use. It's like such a small percent,
like 2% or something like that.
Yeah.
Is Tomboy in here? Did you guys see or no?
I haven't seen Tomboy.
I haven't seen Tomboy.
Okay. Well, okay then. I'll have to ask her another way, because I know she knows the question that Steppenwolf asked. I love saying your name because I love that band. But
Steppenwolf.
I haven't heard him in a long time. But anyway, the question she asked about who was at Mawich's funeral, I think is a good question, because there were some very interesting people that were at that funeral in relation to this. So,
it's three people from the Aryan,
and I know Tomboy knows
Knights.
Those like the back of her hand.
Yeah,
that was the problem. That was that was part of the problem too. Like, I don't want to get. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not saying it's not true. But again, it was Pav who said these three people on this video are these three people, and everybody said, "Oh my God, those three people are there." And I'm like, "You were just told that. Like, do you have the receipts that you know that's who it is? Like, how far did now that maybe
there's a video. There is a video I saw that shows those three people at the funeral.
Yes,
I know.
But did you know who those three people were?
Well, we I think, if I remember back, we lined them up with the come on, you guys, what the hell are those things called? Your mug shots. Mug shots.
Yeah.
Jesus, I can't say it.
I saw the video of see, that's the thing. I saw the video of the people. What I'm saying is
how do you verify
here's who those people are. I don't know who those people are. I see three people. So just that you saw, people made a big deal out of, didn't you see those three people? Do you know who those three people are? Could you recognize them on the street? Do you know those people like?
If I remember correctly, they were matched up with mug shots with that's why I think that was such a big deal. Slocum, Gil, and there was the other one that has the more Spanish sounding last name. I can't say it, or I can't remember it, but yeah, those were the three that showed up at that funeral. And when Tomboy pointed out, I was like, oh boy, okay, interesting. So I mean, it's just
those are
thread,
interesting things, right? Yeah, exactly. There's another thread. Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And the problem is, I don't think all of us have the resources to pull on every thread. So we pull on the thread that we think that we're closest to. I've got my own thread that I've been pulling because I think I'm closest to it. And it may be a complete waste of my life at the end of the day. Like when it gets all done, like I'm still pulling on a thread that I'm thinking to myself, I just want to put this thread to bed. I just want to be done with it, but I can't, because it just keeps not having an answer.
Yeah. And like I said,
no answers in this.
Every channel's doing different things. We're all doing and looking at different stuff and talking about different stuff. So here down the line, if at one point something Pav did lines up with something DA does and something I did or Lana did, and that's the point, guys. That's the whole point behind what we all do out here, and why we do it.
And is it possible that KOPACKA just went, he does know BK and he went stargazing, meteor watching or whatever that night?
By the way, there's something that I pointed out. There's something I pointed out in the video, just indirectly. I don't know if you caught this or not. I don't know the date of it. So, okay. Othram Labs. Do you know what date Othram Lab got the DNA sample from the Idaho State Police? Because Idaho State Police took it first. They put it into CODIS. They didn't get a hit on CODIS. And then Othram took over. You remember the date that Othram took over?
I'm thinking because I did know it.
I want to say that they stopped work on December 10th. So I think they had it before December 10th, and that the FBI told them to stop working on December 10th. I thought, but
was it the 5th?
It might have been. So I think, and here's my point. Where I'm going. If remember, Othram Labs stated they developed the DNA profile to 4 brothers in Pennsylvania, and I said it could have been the KOPACKAs. And they also stated the FBI asked Othram to go after one of the brothers and ask them to voluntarily submit their DNA to the database to help them build that profile to confirm it. And essentially the brother, whoever it was, told them to go fuck themselves. They weren't going to give them the DNA. And at first I thought if it was KOPACKA, then maybe they went to Zach. But then I went, wait a minute. KOPACKA himself was alive still. KOPACKA didn't get shot and killed until after that. So did they go to KOPACKA for his DNA? And is that part of the reason why KOPACKA was pissed? Because they came to him and he's like, fuck you guys, you're going to place this murder on me. I didn't know nothing to do with it. And I'm not giving my fucking, like, did they come and make it clear that he was a suspect in the case and they wanted his DNA just to clear him from the Idaho 4 murder? And he told them to go fuck themselves. And that turned into a big fight between the police. And he's like, I hate you fucking guys. Get off my ass. I had nothing to do with the Idaho 4 murders.
Now, Busy said she thinks that Othram may have had it prior to Thanksgiving, and I think she's right.
I know they had it prior to Thanksgiving based on what they said at CrimeCon.
Yeah, yes. It was all stated that they worked through and over the Thanksgiving holiday. Yes. So yeah, that's a good point, Busy. Thank you, hon. I'm sorry. It's so my mind is such scrambled eggs anymore with this. It's very hard to remember dates and stuff, and there's so many of them, and I have 3,500 notebooks that I have to go pull things back out of and find. So,
but my point being is that I never really made the connection until I was putting the KOPACKA video together for this morning or whatever this afternoon, which was that they could have gone to Brent KOPACKA himself, asking him to submit DNA evidence to the database, and he told them no. And maybe that's part of the reason why he tells them during the standoff, "I fucking hate you guys," because he thinks they're going to blame the Idaho 4 murders on him, and he's fucking pissed off about it because they've been harassing him.
And if you look at the video previous to the standoff video where he's at the hotel having whatever issues he's having, there's an explanation thrown out there at some point that is very interesting about, I can't remember exactly who it was. He said his sister or his girlfriend's brother or some shit like that, or somebody was saying that somebody was trying to accuse him of something, so on and so forth. So that whole mess that happened when he was at that hotel, that is an interesting point to me, that video, because it makes me wonder what he might be talking about. Granted, people said, well, he's just having, some kind of a brain worm thing going on, whatever, but there's something in there that triggered that. There's something that, and what he's saying is very interesting, is all I'm trying to point out. So,
right.
Hi, Cotty. So it's very interesting, and there has to be some. My feeling on it is there somewhere in there somewhere, as I said this the other night, Judge John Judge did not say that man's name for no reason. It had to have been on a document he looked at somewhere for him to say that name. He just didn't pull it out of his ass. He just didn't say, "Hey, I'm going to say KOPACKA today," and it just doesn't make sense to me for that not to be linked somewhere.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to see that document or whatever he was reading.
I would love to know where it came from. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Can we? I know we were talking about it the other day. Do we know which hearing he said that in? We gotta. That would be the start.
I want to say it was one of the last hearings they had in Latah County. Was it in May? I always refer back to one of the May hearings, and I don't think it was that one, but it may have been Extraterrestrial said before Thanksgiving. I may have to go looking. I have them all.
I'd like to find that again. And
that would be interesting to see what the rehear it and hear what the context of the conversation was, and see what he's looking at possibly. Because I'm telling you guys, you just don't pull a name out of your ass and say it. Okay?
No.
Yeah.
It had to be on something the man looked at some point for him to say that word.
Well,
that name.
The thing that I can think of is that he's looking at some kind of document that's talking about the suspects.
Right.
So
right.
he probably on that sheet probably had you know, Jack Decor and probably I'm guessing KOPACKA's name was somewhere on there.
Right.
Something with the something involving the suspects, possible suspects.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it seemed to me that he went to start to say KOPACKA. He didn't get quite all the way
right.
through,
Right. I think he
stopped.
actually
and he caught himself.
Right. I think he
Yeah.
only actually got. I don't even think he got to the hard syllable thing. I think he got COPA, and then he kind of
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He might. I
Yeah.
don't even know if he got into the COPAC. I think he just went COPA, and he's like, I mean, Coburger. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So Amanda, I got a task for you.
Well, that's
Yep.
just weird to me, though. What? 1 second. Let me say what you just said again, Lee.
About the judge starting to say
that last thing you said.
He started to say the name COPA and then stopped and said, you know, I mean Coburger, and people made a big deal. Did you hear him say KOPACKA? And it's like, well, he didn't technically say KOPACKA. He said COPA, and he stopped himself. But it was enough of a distinction that it wasn't Coburger.
It's not even close to Coburger.
Yeah.
COPA.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, you're not just going to throw that name out unless you looked at it at some point. There's my like, why are you looking? Why did this judge see that name? That's my question.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's almost, this is the thing that makes me annoyed. They were talking about, didn't they give some kind of number like 30,000 tips were coming into the Moscow Police Department? And a crap ton of those tips were Brent KOPACKA, and they act like that he was never on their radar. You know, he had to have been. You were getting called tips all the time with that name, but they're acting like they don't know what we're talking about, which is just another sign of the cover up. Like,
yes,
at least
should be able to
that
see
name
those
came up a
tips.
lot, but we ruled him out because of this and this. But they're acting like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. That, you know, that guy was.
We should be able to see all those tips, any emails or anything they got. We should be able to see them.
Yep.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lego my Dago. I love that. Lego my Dago.
Oh, what else do we got? I was thinking about doing a poll to ask how many people got a chance to see the video this morning, but I don't think it was up long enough to really care about that poll because it like I said, I think it might have got up to 900 views before it got pulled, but but that's, you know, it's frustrating. I mean, I know a lot of people. Somebody was watching the video in the middle of the video. It got pulled right in the middle. They're like, I was literally watching the video and it got yanked unavailable. And I don't
think that probably wouldn't be a good poll to do then.
Yeah.
There may not have been many people. We definitely should do a poll on something though.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Everybody likes a good poll.
How many toes do you guys think I have? That'd be a good poll. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Let's see. I gotta pull up the right screen so if we do decide to do a poll, at least I'm
actually. I think a good one would be to find out exactly where everybody's what everybody's what everybody's position on Brent KOPACKA's connection to this could be. We could do a couple different polls.
That's a good. I mean, it's unfortunate that people didn't get to see my evidence first before taking this poll. But
well, there's other things that people have leaned on besides what you showed today. I mean, there's other points that they could say that they would say he could be connected with too, and there has been from the beginning.
Yeah.
So. Okay. How about this? Let's do this. What connection, if any, does Brent KOPACKA have to Idaho 4? And I'm going to give the options of no connection, he was one of the suspects, he knew, or let's say
one of the original suspects.
MPD suspected him. So there's a difference to me. He actually, so what I'm saying is he either had no connection, he actually was one of the suspects that did the murders, or MPD at least suspected him as being one of the suspects. That's kind of where I'm getting with that.
Thank you very much, Stephen Wolf.
He was going to be framed for it or a patsy for it.
Okay.
Thank you for the super sticker, Stephen Wolf. We appreciate that very much.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't even know who it's been through, but thank you.
All right, so I feel like the wording sucks on this, but I've got, what connection, if any, does Brent KOPACKA have to Idaho 4? No connection. He was one of the suspects. MPD suspected him, or he was going to be blamed for it.
No, I think it sounds good.
Okay. It feels like it's missing something in wording, but we'll give it a shot. If you think it's good,
what connection did Brent KOPACKA have to the Idaho 4 case? He was one of the original suspects. MPD suspected him, or he was going to be a patsy, or none.
Yeah. Yeah, that's you probably worded it better.
Are you ready?
Yep, let's go for it. Hit it.
Bam.
Hit it like a redheaded stepchild.
No.
God, I would hate to be a redheaded stepchild. They get a lot of abuse.
Ginger. Ginger. Oh my God, I just watched something today on Facebook about that was hilarious.
We're all over.
I gotta tell you too, it was too funny. What really was the way it did. You ever seen that guy, the Ginger Billy or whatever the hell his name is? On Facebook. He's hilarious. He's like a comedian. When he's sitting in a truck with his buddy, he's a black dude, and he was like, he said something about somebody called him Ginger, and the dude next to him looked at him and said, "Your name's not Ginger, it's Ginger." And he was like, "Oh, I see how it is. So when you want it to be that way, you can use the hard R, but you can't on the other side of it when I'm not sure." I was like, "Oh my God, dude. Get out of here." I was done.
I know.
Stupid people. They put some dumb shit out there. I was dying. The way he said it though,
we got a lot of votes. This is like a really big poll.
It is. Yeah. Yes, the guy with the cat wisteria. I got 21 votes.
Oh yeah, I know the guy with the cat. Yeah.
That guy.
I think. All right. Do you want to hit it? Are you good? Are you stabilized or not?
Give me like 3 seconds because it's moving again. Hold on. Oh yeah. This has got a okay, I think we stabilized. You ready?
All right. Yep, let's do it. All right. I'll give you my numbers here. So I've got, and it's all over the place. He was one of the suspects, came in at 42%. That's the lead choice. He was one of the suspects. I'm assuming they mean that actually did it, guy. That's the way I was wording it. He was going to be blamed for it, came in at 29%. Moscow Police Department suspected him. That was 21%. And no connection at all only comes in at 8%, surprisingly enough.
I have, what connection, if any, does Brent KOPACKA have to the Idaho 4? He was going to be a patsy, comes in at 41%, none at 23%. Ooh. One of the original suspects at 18%, and MPD suspected him at 18% as well.
Yeah. And I almost don't that doesn't surprise me, because my channel, we talk a lot more about KOPACKA as an angle than you do probably. So I would expect to hear people are like, I don't think he has any connection, because you probably don't talk to him about him as much as I do. So yeah.
Yeah, no,
one of the rare times our polls don't look exactly the same.
I've never really pushed into the Brent KOPACKA thing, other than I looked into it, don't get me wrong, but I did feel that maybe that they may have been looking at him as the person that did this in the beginning, and then all this other shit happened. That's the only depth I've ever gone with it. But I'm willing to look at it. You know what I'm saying? I've always been willing to look at it and have that angle be available to me. So
yeah.
There's a question for Dago. If Brent was involved in this crime, is it possible BK knew that because were they next door neighbors? My problem with that though is, why did he say anything? BK working in law enforcement?
If Brent is involved in this crime, is it possible BK knew that because were they next door neighbors? That's a very plausible theory.
I said, if Kohberger, I've said this many times, and I don't want to get into well, anyways, so I said this many times. Kohberger went for a drive that night. Supposedly, that's the whole reason MPD is picking up a suspect vehicle number one, right? There's some that says the evidence supports Brent KOPACKA didn't have a license because of various things that he had with other problems, and he was working on getting a car. Actually, he may have had a truck, but he couldn't drive it, or he was going to get a truck, but he couldn't drive it because he didn't have a license. Therefore, if he wants a ride someplace, he needs to get a ride. If Brent KOPACKA and Brian Kohberger knew each other, either previously from Pennsylvania or because they lived right across the street from each other at the Pimlico apartments and the Steptoe apartments, and they knew each other, it's possible that he asked a guy who's a friend of his that he's met, whatever, that is up late at night all the time, as Kohberger was, can I get a ride someplace? And did Kohberger take KOPACKA someplace? And that's why I said maybe KOPACKA could have, Kohberger could have been the vehicle that you see, but what if he was just taking a friend someplace and didn't know it was going to happen? So what if he just dropped him off and then he's like, hey, or the inverse, maybe KOPACKA got, or anybody could have got a ride there and said, and then asked Kohberger, hey, can you come pick me up? He shows up to pick them up, and all of a sudden, voila, they're like, that's the killer. It must be, because he's the car that we saw. And maybe he never went into the house. Maybe he just simply dropped somebody else off or picked somebody up. So, and that's why they would go after him, because it's the only lead they've got.
Good point.
Yeah. Yep.
So this statement, yeah, it's possible. There are corrupt law enforcement out there, and it's very possible. But don't always assume, I know there's a million movies and TV shows. Not everything is like the movies.
No.
What I would say is, without knowing exactly what it is, just all of the outside agencies, Homeland Security, the FBI, the Marshals, all these different groups, we know there was a big drug operation going on there. We know that through that area. What I would say, it would be more believable to me, the other two, this is a possible thread. I'm not saying that it couldn't be true, but I would think that one of the other two threads would be highly more likely that it's possible that maybe Kaylee had or one of the girls, doesn't have to be Kaylee, someone had a relationship with one of the MPD officers. Some of these officers were in their mid-20s or whatever, young 20s. We know that there was a whole bunch of stuff that went on, right, with the with the college security and their, officers. So it could be that someone had a relationship, or it could be that we know the contract between WSU and MPD, that the whole thing with the informant, that it's just that there was some kind of connection between some of the officers and the sororities and the fraternities, and that's the whole part of the contract there, and part of the operation is trying to infiltrate and stop the drugs and stop the any kind of illegal things with women or whatever, that kind of stuff. Did this happen right under their nose, even with the operation and everything going on? And that would be extremely embarrassing to the whole, to everything. They would try to hide that as much as they could with either one, or could even be both. It could both be true. Could be that someone is an informant and there's still some kind of absolutely. But I find it. I find it hard to believe that the cops they went there and they bashed Kaylee's head in and whatever.
Mama 5 asked a good question, and I think that question in itself, if we were to be able to find an absolute truth to that question.
What was the question?
That could give an answer to a couple things, I think. And the question was, who gave the name Brian Kohberger? Now, we were told one thing.
Right.
Okay. We were told one thing. So that if we could get an absolute truth to this, because I have a couple different feelings on this. Okay,
Yeah.
we all know about the tip. Okay, I have feelings that, and I have had feelings after, especially after when we got the documentation from WSU with all the bullshit that they put out, I'll call it, about Brian Koberger. I have a feeling that WSU was pushing Brian's name towards them. And this is just my opinion, folks, too. Because of some of the complaints that were made in some aspect, possibly. This is just my opinion again, that WSU themselves may have thrown, or somebody from WSU may have thrown Brian's name at MPD at some point because they are very close. So that's another option that I've had in my back of my mind for a long time too. Uh, I don't believe this tip thing. I never have, because of the way that they put this together. I've had issues with that the whole time. So,
well, here's something we don't talk about much, but Koberger's going to WSU to get a PhD in criminology. His whole focus is criminology. While he's there, let's say he had nothing to do with it, right? Let's right. For a moment, let's say he had nothing to do with it. But while he's there working on a PhD in criminology, a major homicide happens right next door in a college town. So he starts looking into it. What if this would make my thesis? I could write a paper on who could, like, what if he wanted to get involved in it? People took the fact that he looked into the murders as proof that he wanted to get off on his own killings. What if, as a PhD criminology student who just happened to be in a town where 4 people just got slaughtered, is like, holy shit, this is right in my neighborhood. I'm all over this. What if Brian Koberger called in a tip? What if Brian Koberger called in a tip to the FBI on a theory that he had, and that put him on their radar? Like, who's this fucking weird guy that's got this fucking tip with this idea? And what if that could have put him on the radar?
That is an absolute probability, sir. I've wondered that myself too. That's interesting. Think about that for a minute, you guys, because this is what he does. In Brian, from what we've noticed and what we've seen, almost has an inability to control himself when it comes to being interested in certain types of things about the crime. Because, and I'm only saying that, as we know, even down to the point when the man was arrested, he was asking the arresting officers about their jobs and about the things that they do with the crimes. After he was arrested, he said, "Oh, your face looks familiar," or whatever he said to Payne, this and that. He's asking questions to them about their jobs and how they do things. It's known that this man is very interested in what he does. Okay.
And right, and that makes him look awkward to people.
Yes.
Because right. So why is this guy so interested in our shit? Why does he want to know so much about police stuff? And a cop that isn't thinking clearly is going to think that's just odd behavior. Why is he asking so much about our business and shit like that?
Right. And nobody puts you wouldn't either, the whole autism thing into effect there. My son is a perfect example. I'm telling you right now, there is an obsession with things. When they get stuck on something, they get stuck on something. My son I don't care what it is, folks. My son was 7 years old and was absolutely and 100% obsessed with Freddie Mercury and Queen. And he wouldn't let it go, to the point where he dressed like him at one point and pretended to perform like him and created props that looked like Freddie Mercury stuff, because they obsess about things. Okay.
Yes.
So think about it. If this is Brian Koberger's point of interest, he's going to obsess about it. Okay. And this is my opinion and feelings always. That would make sense, that he's going to look into something until he gets an answer that he's comfortable with. Okay.
Right. So, which would make him look awkward to people, which would make them think there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Same thing they did to him at the school. If any of that shit's true, where they're talking about the spatial trapping because of conversations he's having. So we saw the conversation he had with the girl at the DMV, which, by the way, Lana posted on her community post that she got an interview with the girl in the DMV video. So I'm curious and excited to see that when she comes back. I'd love to hear that girl's take on this situation now. So, and I knew she was probably going to get that. Somebody was going to. So, good for her. So that's something to remember, you guys. Like this, he is absolutely the best. I agree with you, Karmic. He would be the best person to frame in a situation like this. Okay, because of the way that he approaches things and the things that the way that he reacts to situations. And again, nobody wants to look at the autism side of this at all. Nobody.
Yeah.
So that's the way I've looked at this in a lot of ways, you guys. My entire community that is there when I talk about it knows this. I've gone off over this. That it to me, this looks like they're bullying an autistic person, is what I see. Okay.
Yeah.
and they've picked on him to the point where now they've done this. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll just tell you that. But I don't think I am. I just don't.
Yeah.
And they
No.
pointed out specific things to you guys. Oh, he's obsessed with sexual crimes. He's obsessed with this. He's done that. This stuff's in his phone. That's that. This is what he does. This is why he's here. Okay, that's what he's looked into. Is
Yeah, actually, he wasn't really obsessed with sexual crime. Actually, if you read the paper, if you look at his paper that Robin and I covered on one Sunday show, he actually was interested in other crimes that are not sexual crimes because there's not enough like studies and information about them. Like
that's why he did that.
Yeah.
So, and I even said one time, I think, about that. Like, even if he was, so what? Maybe, what he's doing with the cloud forensic stuff, maybe he'd end up getting a job working in an SBU unit. Like you guys in New York having the SBU units and stuff like that is sexually based crimes, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And that could have been something he was interested in. But there's other things in his papers that he wrote that he was trying to draw. He was trying to draw more attention to because, like you said, there wasn't enough.
He was trying to come up with a way of I don't know if you would call it like predictive policing, but kind of being a way to somehow analyze like burglaries and stuff like that, like
before they happen. Yeah.
Right. Like what is it that, because what he said in the paper is that there is already, not that it's not, of course it's important. Like what makes someone do a sexually, a sexual crime, and there are many things involved in that.
Right.
But there's so much studies and so much info on that already. What about the other crime? What about other crimes? So
absolutely. No, you're Anna D. She just said, Dago, what if it was one of the TAs that gave the name of the student because they didn't like 100%, Anna? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. If it was another TA that didn't like, maybe Brian was showing him up or something, or he didn't like the way Brian did it. We already know that those kids didn't like Brian because he graded them too hard. They said, he had an expectation for them. Any one of them could have contacted MPD and said, you know what? I think it was this guy, because they have a hard on for him because of things that it very easily could have been any of them.
Well, Dago, wasn't there some who's I'm so bad with names. Who was the girl from one of the documentaries? There's a document that apparently like she called like a tip-in or something, and she said that she had a class with BK. It was one of
I don't know her name, but I know what you're
who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly. Guys, I'm telling you.
Because that could be where the
how many tips.
From.
Yeah, I'd like to see how many of the tips called in were Brian Koberger, and if we had the ability to see who and where they came from, I don't need to know their names. Did they come from Washington State University students? Did they come from the Pullman area? You know what I'm saying? And it would show there's 1,000 tips or 10,000 tips coming from these people that say, I think it was this guy. That would blow my mind. But go ahead, Lee.
That's it though, with an anonymous tip line. So if the FBI says, look, it's a tip and we can't tell you who it is, it's because they're anonymous tip lines. But like you point out, the person who gives the tip that gets you to convict somebody else may have a reason to have given you the tip, because they might be trying to shift themselves away from it.
Yeah,
so they're like,
100%.
I'd look into that motherfucker. Look, the book Framed that we talk about from time to time, that we always talk about, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Somebody stepped up to an officer at the scene and said, well, I don't know, but if I were you, I'd look into their next door neighbor because I think he had a thing for that guy's wife. And they went with it and framed that guy, even though that person was a friend of the real killer.
Yep.
That was insane. That one, that one case with the neighbor and the other guy who was actually the perpetrator was also named at the same time, and they still and they still went with
But all it takes is one person to say, well, I would look into that person, and they went with it. And I'm like, what if the person who gave you the tip was friends with the actual killer?
That's the one that blew me away the most in that book, I think, is that story about that. That was crazy. That was crazy as hell. I was like, oh my God. So yeah. I mean, good job, Sean Marie. Good job. It's a great book. You guys will love it.
Oh yeah, that's Amanda. Amanda's always coming from the back with like, she's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Phone
Phone a friend.
Can I call in a friend? Is that your final answer?
She's yeah. It's the EA is the initials. She's trying to see if it's Emily Allant.
Yeah.
If she took classes, she's trying to verify that. I think she's right. Yeah. Because Emily Allant, I think that was one of the people that was in one of the documentaries.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
She
was. Probably I think she was in the Amazon one that came out later. One of the later documentaries that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that had all the families, had Hunter in it, and had Emily in it, had a bunch of people we had never heard of, or not that we hadn't heard of, people that we had never seen on camera before came out just before, conveniently comes out just before the jury is being seated. It's a bit.
Yep.
So we're still waiting. Maybe we'll get some info. Hopefully soon. Any minute, any day, any week on this leak investigation. That would be nice.
We're not gonna we're not gonna hear nothing.
No, well, we're not gonna get an update. But I believe when it's finished, I think we will know.
Well, I think the only thing we'll get, would be a finality on it. But when's that gonna be? What decade's that gonna be in? Because he'll probably be either this will probably be all overturned before we even see anything with that. The way they've been running on that, I think they're doing that on purpose too, because they don't want the public to see what the possibilities are. And I still think, even if they're running an actual investigation on this leak thing, I still think they're gonna find a way to flip that somehow, in my opinion, because of what it may show. That's just me.
Yeah.
What else do we got? Any other cases we want to talk about? Or are we going to stay hot and heavy on Idaho 4?
I was just going to ask Robin the same thing in the chat, because she's been real quiet, and if she had any opinions on anything we talked about.
Well, I was just kind of listen, and looks like Susan Russo was asking. It's kind of going back to our video. It's just inconceivable to me that there is not a connection between Brent and Brian. I mean, I just don't know how anyone, especially with what we're bringing forth here, can be super doubtful at this point. And you were saying, Lee, about a TA. Maybe a TA was someone who had reported, gave a tip about Brian.
Right.
You were talking about, this was several months ago, you were talking about a TA that's in one of the documents. You were going through the Idaho State Police documents, and you were talking, and it seemed like the guy, he would say something nice, and then in the next breath he was like throwing Brian under the bus.
I made a big joke out of that. It was pretty funny. I think that was pretty funny. It was.
I
think this guy's great, but I wouldn't trust him with the fucking $2 bill. He's an awesome guy.
And that's kind of what I was thinking about while you guys were talking. I was like, yeah, that TA. He
Robin, you've been tasked with. I know. Lee has tried. Lee did this for weeks on end.
I have no trouble writing to Brian. I'll absolutely write to him.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to write back. I thought I did some
pretty good
letters. I had some great letters, I thought. But maybe I just approached them wrong the first way.
I think it's don't you have to get on a list for that, I thought.
I don't think you have to get on a list to send them a letter, but you have to get on a list to visit for sure. But he, like, for example, Luigi Mangione is a perfect example. He gets hundreds and hundreds of letters, if not thousands a day, and they keep giving him his mail. Like, he doesn't have to approve the letters. He'll get the letters, but.
Okay. Tomboy actually just threw out an. Go ahead, Robin.
No, I was just gonna say, he probably, as far as we know, he's never responded to anybody. But I'll write him. I don't care.
It would be interesting to see a response from him.
Yeah.
You were talking about other cases. Tomboy said that the Indiana THGE does not agree with everything in the state's response, which is interesting to me. It's a good point. Going to Delphi.
Was there anything on Rex?
Now, what did you say about Delphi?
She said,
That's what she said.
just FYI, the Indiana district attorney, the attorney general's office, I guess, does not agree with everything in the state's response in the Richard Allen case.
That's good. That's good.
It's interesting.
I don't think you can agree with everything. Yeah.
Yes, Greg, they can see you. I'm really interested in it, kind of like anxious to see what the defense is going to come back with after the response from the state. Truly and honestly, I would like to see that, and the reaction with that. So
we are another case update. Not that we have to move away from Delphi, because I'm planning on making another video on Delphi coming up here shortly. I was going to do it tonight, maybe, and tomorrow, but now I don't know if tonight's redoing the KOPACKA video in a way that we can present it. But we'll see. But in the Rex Heuermann case, or Heuermann, if that's how you pronounce it, right? I guess April 8th is the next set court date. That's the date that they're expecting when he shows up. There's going to be announcement of the plea deal. So, these courts, the court dates have been set ahead of time. So that's the next scheduled court date. And I guess more and more media outlets are reporting that they're expecting on the 8th that they're going to come in with the plea. Now, the wording, by the way, is interesting. Plea deal may not be the right word. A deal suggests that I'm going to offer you something, you're going to offer me back. So is it a change of plea, meaning there's no deal offered to him? He's just simply, I plead guilty. I'm done with it. Fuck it. I want to come clean. Or is it a plea deal, or some kind of compensation on their part was made to him in exchange for his guilty plea? I don't know. But whatever it is, we're not probably going to know, I guess, until it happens. But I am curious to know what the details are. And of course, they're being tight-lipped about everything. But it is pretty certain the families have been notified the plea is coming now. So now it's just a wait and see what that plea looks like and what it means for the Long Island serial killer case. And more importantly, what does it mean? And this is why I say more importantly, just because I've developed a bit of a personal kind of, not relationship, but connection with John Ray and the search for Shannon Gilbert's answers to what happened to her. And I wonder how this will impact that case, if any. So, but that's what I'm waiting for. But.
Yeah. What another reason that he would plead guilty? Maybe he is trying to protect his family. In a way.
How would it protect his family? What's your theory?
Well, because there's all the speculation around his daughter and potentially his wife being involved.
Oh, sure. So maybe if he gives a statement that basically makes it's me, all me, and nothing but me, and don't look into my family, I don't think they're going to look into his family anyways. I don't think the investigation gives a shit to go after the family.
No.
So
no, they don't.
I'm just saying
that is a good point.
Look at the stuff about his whatever, his ex-wife now, right? And not married anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
About going, about going on vacation and then not, changing the time, whatever. What's interesting is I mentioned before the show, so typically Unique is I'll mention her. She's good. She actually did a show today. I saw most of it, not all of it, but a bunch of it, where she was covering stuff on Burke, and she's going into the Long Island serial killer and all the stuff involved with that. And
it was a great show.
That case is just mountains and mountains of cover up and fuckery and all kinds of stuff. But see, what's unique about that case is I don't think necessarily that they as Lee has alluded to, I don't think they necessarily have the wrong person. It's just all the who else is involved in the cover up. I do think Rex is guilty, but
without a doubt.
But it's not like Rex is being framed or anything like that. But I can't believe the nonsense that went on with the 911 tape.
Or Shannon Gilbert's.
That whole thing.
Yeah, that's all crazy.
Well, I can't believe that his ex-wife or whatever and daughter, from my understanding, are still living in that house.
Yeah.
That's just, to me, like, knowing what went on in that house, I'd have burnt that shit to the ground. Definitely wouldn't be living
I
in
don't
it.
think they're staying there though anymore.
That's what
Yeah,
Kim said today, was that they were still
No,
living
I know,
there.
but I mentioned in there. I don't think they're staying there. But remember
I would hope not.
Rex owned a house. Where was it, in Pennsylvania, I believe, or where was it?
No,
What
no,
is that
in
house?
Carolina, North or South
Carolina.
Carolina. Yeah,
And he sold it.
Carolina, Florida, and Vegas, yeah.
He sold it to, I don't know if he sold it to
his brother for a buck.
The brother, right, for like $1
Yeah, his
or
brother.
whatever it was. I don't believe, you know, I grew up 7 minutes from there. I can do some. I could have some people do some surveillance and find. I don't believe that anyone's living there right now.
When I was there and I walked past the house, it did not look like anybody was
No,
living
it looked
there.
vacant.
That doesn't mean
It
that
looked pretty
they weren't,
vacant.
but it looked like it
Right.
was vacant and shelled out, and it looks like they had been cleaning up the property. But I don't know.
I wouldn't want to live in it, in a damn anything he owned. I wouldn't trust it, because God knows what he's done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah,
Laura Ingalls said they were still living there. She was just there today outside of their house doing a show.
And to be fair, with the whole, like, me saying that it doesn't look lived, she's very reclusive from what I understand. Also, she doesn't come out of the house for shit. So she could be living there and nobody would know, because they keep the windows closed and they fucking keep their doors shut and they don't come out very often. They got a rare moment where she came out on the porch one time and interacted with people, but she's, for the most part, I think she stays in. So yeah.
Well, maybe Laura had been talking to neighbors. She was talking to neighbors, so maybe she, someone said that they're still living there. I don't know.
Yeah.
She didn't specifically say,
that's all. That's all
how
you need to do. Yeah. Yeah. You just have to get it from the neighbors or someone that's there.
I think that'd be a good poll. To do to see if anybody thinks, or how many people think, if any, if Rex's wife could have been involved in what he was doing.
Yeah, let's do that poll. I don't know that a lot of people, it seems like no matter how many times I've tried to get people interested in the Rex Heuermann case, they're just not really interested. But let's see. Let's raise up the poll. So we're going to say, how do you want to word the question, Dago? It was your question.
Was Rex's wife involved in any of the crimes that he was committing?
Okay. How about his daughter? Do you want to just ask about the wife?
Well, we could do two. Well, we could do wife or daughter.
Let's do wife. Let's do wife.
And there's also another part to that too. I think it's also possible that his wife was aware that what.
Well, that's how.
Right.
I think that's a strong possibility that she let him like get his fix, but she maybe not.
What I was gonna do was in the answers. I was gonna put that in the answers. So
yeah.
I was starting to phrase it as, was Rex Heuermann's wife aware of her husband's actions? But do you want to do a different type of question, because you're trying to?
All I was gonna say was Rex's wife involved in his crimes? And then I was gonna go, yes, no. She had knowledge of it, but wasn't, you know what I mean? Wasn't physically involved, and I don't know were the answers I was gonna put in to start with. We could do another one behind it. So
I've got, okay, was Rex Heuermann's wife aware of her husband's actions? Yes, no. And I'm going to put as an option, not only aware, but involved. That might cover enough of the options, right? So was Rex Heuermann's wife aware of her husband's actions? Yes, no, or not only aware, but involved.
Yeah, I was going to do aware. Well, whatever.
You want to?
No. It's all right. I'm gonna do yes and no, and then I was gonna have two other ones. I was gonna have she was aware.
We can have slightly different polls and share what the results were.
My other two answers were gonna be she was aware but not physically involved, and then the fourth one was gonna be she was involved and aware, like physically involved and aware of it. So it gives like a multiple options there.
I just know damn well I'm going to spell Heuermann wrong.
That's why I just put Rex.
All right, I'm ready when you are. Well, if we have slightly different polls, that's fine. Not everybody's poll is created equally, so it is what it is.
Here we go again.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
You ready? All right.
All right.
All right, let's do it. Fire it off.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yes.
All right. Looks like some voting's coming in pretty good. It's got some woohoo. Got some votes coming in. That's good. Good.
And
Yeah.
some of you may not know the case, and if not, don't worry about it. I understand.
Right.
I covered it,
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
slightly, but the Hurman case. Is that what
All
you're
right.
talking about, or are you talking about something else?
Me? I was talking about the Hurman case. The Hurman case.
Oh, okay. Wow.
All right, we're pretty stagnant over here now. All of a sudden.
Okay. Yeah,
All
I
right.
got. End it.
Go ahead. Yep. You want to go first or me?
Go for it.
All right. So was Rex Hurman, this is how I worded it. Was Rex Hurman's wife aware of her husband's actions? Yes, 52%. No, 27%. And not only aware, but involved is 21%. And so it was pretty, most people say that she was aware, and 20% say not only aware, but involved maybe.
Now I have, was Rex's wife involved in his actions? I have 52%. It's funny. She was aware, but not involved. 18% said no. She was aware and involved was 18%, and 12 said yes.
I got one more poll I want to throw out there because I'm really curious how this goes. I don't know people because I'm planning on doing a video about this coming up. This is about Richard Allen in the Delphi, Indiana case, the man convicted of the murders of Abby and Libby, who appealed his wrongful conviction. He's saying the defense said essentially they broke him in prison mentally, and his confession is not correct. The prosecution said he broke mentally in prison when he was faced with the facts of what he had done. So I want to do that poll. Do you think Richard Allen's psychosis was caused because of guilt over what he had done, or torture, or influence in solitary confinement, or something to that nature? So, was Richard Allen's psychotic event?
So, all right.
Yep.
What do you want the answers I have? Do you think Richard Allen's psychosis was stemmed from?
Yeah, Richard Allen's psychotic event was caused by his guilt and shame, caused by solitary confinement or torture. If I could spell, it would be great.
Is torture and solitary all in one?
Yeah, I got solitary confinement or torture. So I got line one is his guilt and shame is what caused his psychotic event. Solitary confinement and torture is option 2.
Okay.
Option 3, he faked psychosis. And that would be he faked psychosis to try to get some kind of mental health,
of course, yeah,
writer, or what? He's just none of the above. Let's put it none of the above.
Or none of the above.
Maybe he just broke because he just broke. Like had nothing to do with guilt and shame or confinement. He just was fucking gonna break because he's mentally ill. All right, I've got that ready to go. You want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Fire it off.
Yep. It's a good question, actually. I'm actually curious what everybody thinks because I know what I think, but it is what it is.
We got some slow voting starting. Okay, now it's picking up a little bit. Do people see the live voting going on, or do they only see the end results?
I honestly
see it.
No, they see the live. I see the live.
Yep.
Yeah. We can see it.
It changes. Yeah, we see it.
It just takes time for everybody to hit it, which is why I don't. Sometimes I think we don't wait long enough because I've watched it go slow, and then boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've got wow, out of all the polls we've taken tonight, this one has gotten the most attention.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah, mine too. And it's high, very high.
Very high.
Yeah.
I'm at 27 votes. 28. It's moving too. Damn. Good job, guys. Good job. I love the interaction for sure.
Yes. Yes.
This helps us with our feelings on things too sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it, Kathleen Bell. I will be watching it though, because I like Bob and Allie both.
UK Claire says, you guys don't wait long enough. Lag is real. Yeah, that's true.
That's what I was just saying. I'm holding on this one for a little bit.
In fact, we could probably, in the future, we probably can continue to talk about other things while we're letting the poll run, and then we can shut it down and say, now here's the results of the poll that we had running. But yeah,
that's probably a good idea. Just let it roll.
Yeah,
this is a good one too. What the hell was I going to say? I just had a thought I was going to throw at you too, and I just lost it. I think it leaked out of my ear.
All right, that's fine. All right, let's go ahead and kill this one. In the future, maybe we'll kind of change up how we do our polls a little bit, maybe. But I've got a good solid 82% over here say it was caused by solitary confinement or torture, and then pretty much a good split amongst the rest. His guilt and shame 8%. He faked his psychosis 6%. None of the above 4%.
So, do you think Richard Allen's psychosis was stemmed from solitary confinement? I have 91%. Or solitary confinement or torture, I should say. Guilt and shame 3%, and he faked it 3%, and none of the above 3%. So 91% said yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
What he went through.
Yeah.
And that's my feelings too.
Yeah, and I think people, I knew it was going to happen, but I think people got the misunderstanding from me when I was reading and trying to tell you what the prosecution's response was, that they're like, I'm really disappointed in you, DA, that you believe that's what happened. I said, I never said I believed it. I was telling you what their best argument was. I was trying to explain it. I even but I understand that because I was doing a good job at explaining their position, it made it sound like I bought it, right? And I was like, look, this is what they're saying. This is what their argument is. And more importantly, like I said, an appellate court is going to decide whether that sounds reasonable to them. So you got to look at it through the appellate court's eye. Are they going to look at that and go, that sounds good to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and this is going to be a rough appeal process, I believe. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I pray that it rolls this. That's another good one we could throw out there. Do you guys think that the appeal will go through? You know?
Do we want to do that one before we close? Because we're getting close to close. Do you want to do one more poll, or do you want to just kind of leave that for? Let's do it.
Yeah,
so we're gonna do. All right, so we're gonna ask whether or not people think that he's gonna win in a chance for an appeal.
That worked.
Kiss me where I be. Says, I enjoy all the stuff that you guys go out of your way to share with us. Well, we appreciate you guys for supporting us and for tuning in. And, we appreciate that greatly. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Very much appreciated. All your inputs, every one of you, whether it's good or bad, is very much appreciated, truly.
Yep.
So do you think Rick's appeal will be approved? I have yes, no, and no idea in hell.
Okay, good enough. Let's do it.
There it
goes. Yeah. So as far as that goes, I'm really, if nothing else, it's going to be entertaining to watch it play out. I feel like even regardless of how that goes, whether he does win the appeal option, and again, winning the appeal means different things. One way that the appellate court could do is say he was wronged and we're overturning the conviction, and now the prosecution can decide whether they want to try to retry him or not. There are other things along that scale, but that's probably what he's mostly looking for, is in some way the trial was it wronged him, and it's overturned, and then there will be a period. This is the way it usually works. I think there'll be a period of time in which the prosecution has a set number of days to decide if they're going to retry him again, doing it the right way this time, for example. And so, that's likely to be how that would play out if he wins the appeal.
Yeah, for people are asking who Rick is. Rick is Richard Allen, the guy that was convicted of the 2 murders and the Delphi murders. Sorry, guys, I should have probably spelled the whole thing out. Some people don't really know who he is. My apologies. And if you don't know that, then, I get it. No worries.
I got thrown off by that the first time, too, when I was Richard Allen. Somebody goes, "Free Ricky." I'm like, who the hell is Ricky?
Okay. Right.
Yeah. All right. There's some chat going on. All right, I'm going to end mine. A residential lease is not public record. You and the landlord can be sued. A residential lease is not public record. You and the landlord can be sued. YouTube just made sure they wouldn't be sued. Even redacted, you can't publicly post it. Zach 100% can sue you. Well, there we go. I'm sure there's a whole fan club that would like to see my ass sued. So let's see if that happens, I guess.
So, do you think Richard Allen's appeal will be approved? I have 42% said yep, 20% said no, and 38% said no idea in hell.
I've got, will Richard Allen win his request for appeal of wrongful conviction is how I typed it out. Yes, 58%, 27% no, and 15% no clue. So yeah, that's some optimism. People think that he will win the right. And again, me being a little bit of a pessimist by nature, I'm thinking to myself, it's an uphill battle to get an appellate court to want to overturn a lower court's choice. So you have to, now again, what we haven't seen yet is the defense counter the prosecution's nicely written paper, right? So they have a chance to counter that probably. And we'll see what the counter looks like. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's a good point. I got an idea. If you have the want, where are we at time wise? 160. If you have the want or the ability to throw out one more poll, I think this might be a good idea. I think we should ask them all what cases, if any, besides one or more, they would want to hear us talk about in here in Crimes After Dark.
What are we going to give them for options?
The cases that we typically like. Obviously, it'll give us the option, like the ones we talk about on a normal basis, to see which one comes in the highest, and then that'll give us some ideas and some other things too. I think just an idea.
Right. So what
the main ones we talk about?
Do you enjoy?
There you go.
Hearing on Crimes After Dark. Idaho 4, top one. Delphi. I'll put in parentheses Richard Allen. Now here's the tricky part. You and I cover slightly different cases on some of these things. What do you want for the last two options? Press Grove we haven't talked about for a while.
There's nothing at all going on there. That's why. We have Letcher County. We have.
Let's do Mickey Steins.
Right.
I'll put Letcher in parentheses because there's not enough room for Letcher County. And I'll put anything you guys want. Some people will be like, I just like it. So Idaho 4, Delphi, Mickey Steins, or anything you guys want, because some people just like hearing the show regardless of what we're talking about.
Sounds good. I just think it'd be an interesting poll to see.
All right, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Now this guy's living in my head rent free. I'm like, am I about to get sued for something that's fucking I already did? I'm gonna get sued now.
No, you're not. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because when I was doing all the deed searches and all the rental agreement searches, you know where they are? They're right in the public repositories.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge.
So it is public record. It is.
I hope so.
Because I found a whole bunch related to various properties.
Are you ready to send this one?
Concerned with this.
Oh yes, please do.
I
already
hit
send right away after you said, and yeah.
So okay, no problem. Let it go. Oh, I got it. It's gone. It's out. It's gone. Jacob Monster diff about Delphi. If Richard Allen appeal gets approved, could one of the conditions be that he has to name alternative perps? Can a Supreme Court ask? That's a good question, Jacob. I think it would depend on how they present it, right? I guess what the terms of the appeal. I mean, is that how that works?
What's that?
Did you hear what the question was?
No.
About Delphi. If Richard Allen's appeal gets approved, could one of the conditions be that he has to name alternative perps?
No.
Can a Supreme Court ask?
No. 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 They're just going to be looking at whether or not the trial was legally done or not.
Right.
And again, never forget, it is not the defendant's job to prove that they didn't do it. It's the prosecution's job to prove that they did it beyond a reasonable doubt. So he doesn't have to come up with a list of alternative suspects at all. That's not his job to say, well, I think it's so-and-so and let me prove, like, that's not his job. So they're not going to ask him to try to prove anything. All he has to do is say, my civil rights were violated. I didn't get a fair trial. End of story. And it's not his job to be able to show who did it.
Yeah. Good point.
I don't know if I worded that quite right, but that's my take on that.
I know it.
Right,
I know what you're saying.
Are you good on the poll, or you want to keep it running?
Yeah. I'm ending mine now. I kind of figured that was going to be what it was roughly. Actually, I'm surprised a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised in a way. What do you got? What do you got for your numbers?
I have 75%. What cases do you enjoy hearing about on Crimes After Dark? Idaho 4 is 75%. Anything you all want to hear about is 14%. Mickey Steins in Letcher County is 7%. And Delphi is 4%. I was kind of shocked on that one.
Yeah, that is kind of a surprising one. And what I was surprised about is I got slightly different numbers. Idaho 4 came in at 60%. The biggest surprise, which makes me feel a little bit good, is 32% said anything we want to talk about, they're interested in. So that's a pretty good number over on our side. Delphi 4%, Mickey Steins 4%. So.
Yeah, I kind of figured Idaho was going to win, but
right, that was like almost a no-brainer on that one.
Yeah. What are you guys going to want to hear about when Idaho ends? Ooh, as if that'll ever happen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be dead. I'll be dead by then.
It'll still be going. It'll still be going then. Our grandkids will be in here
I love going over any documents or cams for anything else live. What?
Documents or body cams for anything. Oh, good call. I got you, Claire. All
right, let's wrap up. We usually do this in about 2 hours. Again, for those of you who missed the really cool video I thought I was making, again, it appears I have inadvertently violated YouTube's policy of showing addresses online. So if I feel like I can do a video in which the gist will have to be trust me, bro, because I'm not allowed to show you the receipts. I feel like in our audience, I have gained some trust. I think people know me to be a non-clickbaity, honest person. So chances are good that if, my core audience, if I say that's what it says, you'll trust me whether or not you can see it or not. But we'll play it by ear about whether we're going to redo that. If so, my evening is going to be rebuilding that video and trying it again tomorrow with some redactions in it and hope that we don't get flagged again, because that would be the worst thing. I got to make sure we do not get flagged again. All right. So what else? I think that's pretty much it for the night. Let's do a round the horn. Let's go Dago 1-1 Robin, and then we'll close out with me. And so Dago, you want to give us some closing thoughts for the evening?
Sure. Thank you guys for joining us again. Great conversation as always. Very much appreciated to have you all here tonight. Thank you to the moderators as always. Again, wouldn't exist without you, couldn't do any of this without you, and you are all very much appreciated. So thank you all very much. Thank you again, Lee, 1-1 and Robin, for having me here with you tonight, as always. I appreciate that very much. Hope to see you guys tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Again, everybody, please make sure to love yourselves and love each other, and don't change anything, because as always, you truly are the beautiful people. Thank you all so very much.
And thank you, Diego, for always taking time out of your day when you do all kinds of shit all day long to be part of our show. I appreciate it very much. One, what do you got for closing?
I love the discussions on KOPACKA and trying to bridge all these, figure out all these puzzle pieces where they fit in the story. I hope Lee is able to somehow edit that video a bit and get it out to you. It was really an excellent video. I enjoyed it. But thanks to all of you coming out, all the channels, mods, Amanda backstage. You're always a lifesaver. Obviously the great panel that we have, and also to Logan and JJ who are not here. We always miss you guys as well. I will give you my movie quote. I'll give you a hint. I don't know. I think this is you can blame my wife for this one. This is she's I don't know. It's in the it's actually in the 2020s, so it's a newer movie. So
okay.
They say there are 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Well, I'd like to add one more: revenge. You can't care about anyone else. Everyone else is an obstacle. You care what an obstacle wants or feels, you're dead. If I cared about anyone or thing, I might have died like so many brilliant women with a drawer full of unseen genius and a heart full of sad bitterness. You have the talent for your own label. Whether you have the killer instinct is the big question. I hope I do.
Amanda said Cruella.
Cruella?
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. That's what it is.
Good job,
Someone
Amanda.
said John Wick. Nice. Nice. Well, that's perfect. You got to get into the 2020s for Amanda to be all out. Amanda's got more than that before.
It's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have not seen it, but I know the story. So, well, I know the original story. I guess that's how old I am. But, anyways, Robin, what do you got for close?
Well, we appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Again, it's totally sucks about the video, but I have a hunch that we're going to be able to salvage something from that. And to all the doubters out there, I don't know what to tell you, because it's there in black and white. Like literally, it is in black and white, and we have witness accounts. That this is true. We have the person who actually sent Lee the document. They have commented that he spoke to her personally. So I don't know how much more information we can give you. And in relation to the rental agreement, let me tell you, when I was searching online repositories and everything, I saw everything from lease agreements to rental agreements to mortgages to bank records, plot descriptions, everything, blueprints, you name it. So I don't think that there's going to be an issue there. But just saying. But anyway, we appreciate you guys coming out each and every night, whether you're here live or on the replay crew. We appreciate it so very much. And to all the mods on all the channels, we appreciate what you guys do. You're fantastic. And I know Logan was disappointed she couldn't be here with us this evening. Hopefully she'll be back tomorrow. But it was a little bit unavoidable, but she's fine. She's fine. So I know. So there were some comments earlier in the chat. They were worried about her, but she's fine, and hopefully she will be back with us tomorrow evening. And until then, I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
All right. Thank you very much. And for me, I will tell you, just as I was getting ready to do my close, I double checked YouTube. They have responded to my appeal of that video. They said that the appeal stands, but there's no penalty to me, meaning my account does not have a strike, but they have reviewed it and they said I did violate their terms and basically said, don't worry, there's not a strike against you, but you can't play that video. So that is the final ruling. I appealed, I lost my appeal, and there you go. So we will see, we will discuss as a panel or as a group tonight whether or not we are going to try to take a recut at it in a way that be allowed. I don't want to play the game over and over again and getting my stuff, because if I keep submitting things that they keep blocking, I probably will get a strike. And by the way, I don't even know what Lana got suspended for. So when we won't do it now.
Do.
We'll talk, okay, we'll talk backstage after we close up tonight to find out what that is. So I don't make that mistake in the future. That's horrendous when you've got a big YouTube channel that gets spanked for. That's a huge punishment to her. So that's really unfortunate. For everybody that supports our channel, thank you so much for coming here. Robin and Essie, thank you again for putting boots on the ground. It's a shame that we haven't been able to do something with that, but we'll recover somehow. We'll say what we can say. Again, we've earned some credibility, I think, in this community. So if I just have to tell you what you can't see, then I'll explain it, and maybe we'll do it that way. I don't know, but we'll work it out. Thank you all for coming. Check us out again tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 Eastern, on the Crimes After Dark show. And have a good evening, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.